There are two competing notions in our church and in our world. The notion of justice and the notion of mercy. Justice means you get what is due to you. Mercy means you get what you don't deserve. Today's readings sounded a lot like Holy Week, when we are reminded that Jesus, the Christ, is the sign of God's mercy. And the readings today call us not only to remember God's mercy, but to practice it. Now, I don't know about you, but judgment's easier. I'm up here and you're not. Judgment it always begins with me being secure with where I am, looking out and seeing other people who don't live up to the mark. And so we make judgments about them. Mercy starts in a very different place. To understand mercy, we have to understand our own failings. We have to be in tune with the fact that we're not as perfect as we hoped to be, or even as we lead other people to think we are. Mercy begins with human frailty, with incompleteness, with mistakes, none of which we should get rewarded for. Mercy is God's reward for us. Francis of Assisi always had Brother Leo remind him, Francis, you're a sinner. Francis, you're a sinner. And rightly so, because with over 10,000 followers, it's pretty easy to feel like everybody's following you instead of following the Lord. So Francis had to constantly remind himself, you are a sinner, Francis. And as a sinner, you don't judge. When we recognize our humanity, when we recognize our incompleteness, when we recognize our imperfection, then we can understand mercy. So why does God do it? Why is God merciful to us when God could be just? And if God were just, we would all be going to, hello. Perhaps. But God is merciful to us because God did not make us perfect. God only made us human. God is merciful to us because God made us. And God is invested in us. God is merciful to us because God wants us to succeed. And God introduces us in human time to the life of Jesus, who is God on this earth. And God on this earth takes the form of a suffering servant in that first reading. We often focus in that first reading on suffering, but the focus is not on suffering. The focus is on mercy. Because the suffering servant is willing to put up with all kinds of things so that we can have life. In the letter to the Hebrews, the high priest knows exactly everything that we put up with because he himself puts up with it. And yet he clings to God and is the voice of mercy, is the sacrament of mercy to anyone who will hear. Mercy. That's what this Eucharist is all about. We say, Lord, I'm not worthy. And God says, I know. That's why you're here. Because this sacrament is the sacrament of mercy. Lord, I'm unworthy. And God says, eat. Be nourished. Be strengthened. Be saved. If we could move from a place of judgment in our daily lives to an attitude of mercy in our daily lives, we would be closer to the image of Jesus, who came to serve, who came to be slave of all. What a wonderful challenge to the Catholic community to fall in love with Jesus so much that we recognize our unworthiness and his tremendous abiding, never ending, never changing, always there mercy. Good luck out there, because there's not a lot of mercy going around these days. But what wonderful signs we could be.